Oh, misbegotten son of your father's profligacy. Awlad khar, turmali famidum kuchara ziramadi. You thought my robe was too dusty? Oh, long-eared receptacle of odor, oh badbui. If need be, I shall ride a distance of 100 aeroflights until I find somewhere a flaying house. Chapter 5 का end है कि ख्वाजा नसरुद्दीन picked himself up without uttering a word, leapt into the saddle, and drove his ass down the road at a smart trot, groaning and grunting at every followed from the chaikhana doorway by a quintet of imprecations. Chapter 6. Thus lamentably ended his single combat with his own name. An example of him who would be admonished. It's not inappropriate here to recall the words of that merry vagabond and tippler Hafiz. Who was beaten by the crowd at the bazaar in Shiraz. Hafiz Shirazi ra ek dafa girmanan da bazaar khub thap marane. In the bazaar in Shiraz for his mocking comments on the divine ghazal of the poet Hafiz. Who commented that bale azu mushair asli Hafiz ke naam bata as khatir gufta kho. O my renowned name, thou did belong to me once. Now I did precede me by many a day's journey, but now I would tie weights to thy feet. I'm the stead, and thou my cruel rider with a heavy whip in his hand. Thus does a man's destiny work itself out upon his sorrowful earth, where even fame causes him naught but injury and distress. Not until he was at a distance of 5 aeroflights did Khoja Nasruddin draw rein. The panch tirkash taki wo naraftad dur nafas nakashid am to khubz guft bachesh dige farar panch tirkash chiqs basha
500 meter
500 meter to ga 100 meter am yak tirkash dei
समझाना
ई साहब 5 tirkash है मगर था हाथ दी 5 tirkash की नरफ्ता नसरुद्दीन कहता खुलासा खरा कार ना कि बच्चे दी डबल कर दिया. He dismounted from his ass, seated himself upon a roadside boulder, and sat there for a long time, feeling his arms, legs, neck, head. May Allah strike that evil-smelling artisan with palsy. He grumbled, nursing his bruises. I wonder what he drags about him with him in that accursed bag of his. Grindstones, a press iron, or shoemaker's lasts. Shoemaker, I'm going to go to reflecting on this case and applying to himself the point of Hafiz, he proceeded on his way along the stony, sun-warmed road. Sun-warmed or stony, which is Sangiria. Nukte Hafiz emigra panmusha maga bachesh shorata maskat punishment dala yela kuportirya ikaramusha. The blossoming willows exalted their pungent odor of wild honey, lizards of different colors. Lizards. Chismaga lizard hai? Markodia rangi family buya mukhtalif asal buy shumaya dunya ra bahar girfta. turquoise, sapphire, emerald green, or just gray. نامای مختلف رنگایی که دست سنگ دیده، یکش فیروزه، یکش نمیدونم فلانی رنگه. With an unobtrusive but on closer inspection very beautiful and delicate pattern on their backs, sunned themselves on the rocks, lark trilled and pine finches whistled in the sky, bees blazed up in the sunbeams, dragonflies glimmered with mice wings. In short, the world around Khoja Nasreddin was the same it had been an hour before, as though nothing had happened to interrupt his journey. بعضم زمور رفت فراموش کتی تب خورده تازه نه بعض مگه wow, this is beautiful, this is
درد مرد زیاد چی رفته
as though there had been no chaikhana on the edge of the precipice where he had been treated so inhospitably. He could remember things well when need be, but he could also forget when he wanted.
ये कमाल
که پرمشت که بایی که رفت یعنی چیقوکا رفت یعنی آور رفت فلانی شد اونو سنسیت آمد یعنی بریز تازه تیر شد یعنی برد تازه در اونجم ده یعنی حضور را برای خاطر تو باید تمام چیز پرمشت کنی. You should have the ability. Moreover, the pain in his sides and his back had abated. Come, درچ کم شده. A circumstance for which thanks were due to his thick traveling rope. و کوری که پشتد خوبم تر چمرستو کور بنزو تب سه میدانک دست وانای شده which had cushioned the blows. کم نرم که دادم که تب خوردد نرم شد. Soon his sense of injury melted away completely. یه درد مرد نمانده جانش. He smiled, then chuckled, and finally burst out laughing. قد خود خنده که داشت. Do you hear my faithful ass? زوی چی دیده چی فهمیدی تو؟ I'm already being beaten in the name of Khoja Nasreddin. سیل که بچهش در نامش تب مخرده رو. تو باید اینجی یه سرفکر خیال کنی را. All that I need now is to be hanged to the glory of Khoja Nasreddin. از این باید چی شده میتونه که تو اوزور شنی در نام Khoja Nasreddin که نمیه نصرالدین بگیرین اوزور کن. این دیگه جای افتخاره جای فخره. This jocular speech was interrupted by a faint, long-drawn moan. The ass snorted, lifted his ears, and stopped. Glancing to the right, Khoja Nasreddin saw a man. Lying under a bush. His head covered with his robe. روب چیز بگی متای چپان چپان خور بله خوار کده روی پوت کده قرق خواه What ails you, my man? چیز کده تو رتای نجوری Why do you lie here? این چر خواهی Moaning so pitifully از درد منالی As if your soul were quitting its body, روح تو فقط بگ جان در روی لمی دیا مرداره حالت ناز است. It is quitting it. Indeed, the prostrate man said from under his robe in a plaintive voice, groaning and moaning, I pray Allah that it depart quickly, for my suffering are terrible. My torment is unendurable. ناقابل برداشت درده. خدا می جانم بیست مرا می جان ما خلاص کردیده. ای بابا ای. Khoja Nasreddin dismounted. And how long has this dire disease been tormenting you? چقدر وقت است که یقدر ناجوری تو He asked, bending over the sick man It's been sitting within me these 5 years. As 5 saal ki jaan mein dard ila na kar. Moaned the sick man. Every spring at this exact time, it pounces upon me like a ferocious beast. Ek haywan wahshili har bahar de janas mein changa mujhe na jori. And tortures me for a whole month. Yag mama da azabum. Har bahar ki maya ma da azabum. Worse than most cruel of executioners. To escape its ferocity, I must perform a certain act of healing. Ma bayad yak nuskha inji chalandaniyam ki ma bayad jor shunam yak mare ukasse go ilaj gufta ma bayad dura har saal anjam. But on this occasion, I failed to do it in time. Magarim dafa ma ziyad mara. Timing shout to that. And here I now am, lying in the road, neglected and forgotten. Without aid or sympathy. Na komaga, na kastarjan Ibrahim dara. Al kharaba, eh? Be comforted. Khaira, khaira. Be comforted. Said Khoja Chapter. You now have both aid and sympathy. Hum komak lazima, hum dawaiya. Mast humne follow itu. We shall proceed together to the nearest village. Nazdiktarin qarya ek jay mori. Find there a leech. Leech. Fast mana. Khun turki muchisha uchiz mara. Lazari. Shuluk khay mana ortara.
كميز خوش كشنا ورا موجا سبع شيء موجا
أنت مش سبنا وبس كش من أخونا أما أخوني غاندا بور مشكلة يكم يا كات منا إنتر بس تامنا قدر بدينجي يك فاست طريقة है ना बस إنت एक ब्लेड में सब ब्लड केस तकरीबन एगो 100 ml 50 ml बूर मशा कुम का ब्रेक cleaning blood प्रेशर ज़रूरी है. We'll go to the nearest village and find there a leech, and with his aid you will perform the necessary act of healing. Bas tu fast mashi, bas tu jua mashi. A leech? Oh, for that act I need me no leech. Whatever. Cheez mugi tu. Suluk cheez nahi tu. Ma ye suluk na mi chalai digar kame laja. The afflicted man sat up, bal masha dajayek mishna, amanajor, and threw a robe from his head. Chapanda pasna, revealing a broad, flat, naked face, utterly devoid of beard or mustache. Na bruda, na risha, ki chapan khorpasna, adorned with a tiny nose, and a pair of diverse colored eyes, two different color eyes, on a dull blue filmed over and bleared, the other yellow and round. Ek danish blue color, ek danish yellow color. Goal. And of such a piercing quality that Khoja Nasreddin felt uncomfortable under his gaze. Take me to the village, good man. The sick one said, crawling out from under his robe with a painful sigh and groans. Take me into the village, happily there among people, my suffering will be relieved. With difficulty, he climbed into the saddle. The ass, understanding that he was carrying a sick man, was careful. At the descent and did not jump over the ariqs. But waded through them. Khoja Nasreddin walked alongside, glancing at his groaning companion out of the corner of his eyes. He's doubtless an arrant knave and a caitiff. Otherwise, how come that yellow satanic gleam in his only eye? الشمزي بخيروش نبر مشام زرزر شمشي قد خود فكرنا he mused but happily مگر شاید I am mistaken شاید ما اشتباهم دارم and my base suspicion or an insult to virtuous man whose outward aspect totally belies his inner worth يعني امکان داره بسیار آدمی خیرتو آدم باشه بسیار اگه آدمی نیک و پرهیزگار باشه که یه خالی ما دا قواریزی رفته خدا نکنه خدای توبه قد خود خمیتر مگه اول شک منا باز مگه نه نباشه. There was something about the sick man, some hidden quality that prevented Khoja Nasreddin from definitely presuming him to be a knave. یک خاصه میتر اول ما گفت نه یگو میتر بدماش یگو میتر ایلگرد
لوچک نباشه
یگو لوچک دیگه باز مگه نه میتر نباشه که خوب آدم باشه ما در قواریزی رفتو. On the other hand, try as he would to think well of his companion, the yellow gleam in the depth of his one eye perplexed his mind. لیکن هرچی که پیش مورا یمو one eye از کم شاینی بدانه بار باری متوجه نه باز مشکوک منیرا یارچ فکرای خوب منا بازم مشکوک مشابلیز and guided his thought in the opposite direction. بس برد بخید خلاف زو نه ای به نظرم که بسیار ایگو خطرناک آدم خدا چیز باشه. The road made a steep descent. Ascent شد اینالی
descent
سرشوکیه خو. After rounding two bends دو امتر چکر که میزنن Khoja Nasreddin saw the flat yellow roof of a small village. اول نه خانه معلوم شد دویم نه بند کتیر کدینا دید که دیهات معلوم میشه. By the smoke that rose cheerfully into the clear sky. یک آتشدان از منی زوین خوب دود برمشن رقصان منی آسمان رهیه. این المناظری فیلم میکینگ هم آدتا ہے هر کس که من کیمرا سیل منا اینی ٹوٹا ہے زی تمام شی سینریه چطور describe منا که بیخی سینریر پیشتو create مکنه اینیر مگه literary power یک اس power ہے literature اینیه که تو را نه صرف خود تو را منی همزو جای the depth شی مبرا بلکه تو وقتی که او لکا منی بس بعد او دیگه همو تقریبا دمو جای مایه. He recognized a چایخانه باز دید ایک دن چایخانه را but mindful of his recent experience یک دفعه باز برم دو چایخانه یا نه که تازه چایخانه دیگه خورش دیده. He vowed not to enter into any conversation respecting his own person. گفت گبی خوجا نصرالدین که ما توبه دیگه ما گبیش نمیزدم ما لیفتش نمیدم مگو ما نمیشناسم. No matter what was being said around him که هرچی که بگم داو بیزنه خوب بگم ما شامل نمشم دمزی قناعت بس مگه خوب واری چایخانه. But he whom fate was decreed to be beaten twice in one day تقدیر گفتد که امروز باید دو دفعه چپ بخوره یار پلانی کنه ایتا بخوره will be beaten twice and so it was with him. In the chaykhana he asked for a blanket. They kambal bidinnar. Solicitously covered up the sick man. Bas amur kham wo mariz ra amitar nishana put kat koshish kat ki malum nashna mani kambal phet kat qarar bo dekh jaye ishturna. Then turned to the keeper bas amzu sahib chaykhana with a question respecting a leech. You will have to send to the neighboring village for one, said the keeper. A big stocky fellow with a large round head, a low brow and a hairy beefy neck. Beef neck, a beef diga gaura magana gardani gawal onno mota adam bacha ay baba ye ami khutab na kadawra red as that of a butcher or murqam surkh misli dar qassab. Meanwhile let the sick man drink some tea, happily he will feel better for it. But in the meantime bare zumariz chai. After drinking 2 teapots the sick man rested his head on the pillow, then fell into a light slumber. أنت نمخاو رافتيا moaning piteously in his sleep ده مخاو خامد جيمرينا يعني يقول واقعين deep that day ده خاوم شرنا ميلا درا خوجة نصرالدين joined the other guests خو يامات تقدري ديگا ميمانا and started a conversation ونجي قفتك ما قابم نميزمنا أم كدرمت قرار hello everybody كيف fine how are you and started a conversation with them in the hope چیزو میدرا of discovering something about Agabek's mountain lake که معلومات بیدی بچه که می اگبک میشناسی نمیشه گروه بند من دسته میشه یا نه No, none of them had ever heard of such a lake. What lake? چیز بند کدام اگبک As to one by the name of Agabek was not the worthy traveler seeking that miller who had so profitably sold his lame cow the year before by skillfully concealing his fault from the buyer. Was not the worthy traveler seeking the miller. مگر تو امو چیزا رو میگی Agabek امو کی چیزا میچلند آسیا گندم کی آرد نه او چیز کار کرد یک گاو خورا خدا رنگ من کرد چیز کار کرد سودا کرد نه کسیزور مگم امور مگم نه ورنا مگم or did he happily mean the blacksmith Agabek یک Agabek ما میشناسم خو چیزایا آهنگاره یک دیگه قصه نه امو آهنگاره Agabek مگی or the one whose eldest son has recently married یا من دیگه Agabek امو بچهش تازار سی نکردن امو بچهش ایسی Agabek پیش زیاد Thank you good people The Agabek I seek is quite a different man no he is urqanna udiga Agabek a different man then happily it is the one who had fallen through the ramshackle bridge across the stream last autumn peshna taisto I onmu Agabek basha ki damen darya parda das bilpul with his loaded ox ki gaugadi sham purbut qad gaugadi qati mane darya parda or the horse doctor Agabek یک دنه کیمی اسب داره اون نامش Agabek آتا They were so eager to oblige Khoja Nasruddin that they named nearly a score of Agabeks یک درجن Agabek نامش گرفتن فلانی گفت مگه فلانی رو مگه نه اون فلانی رو مگه شاید But none among them was the proprietor of a mountain lake ایچ کدام از نام غیر نگفت که مو صاحبی بند رو مگه که دا کویا بند کوی ایچ کس ای گبره دقول نورده It matters not خیرو I shall find him elsewhere پیدا نم آخر Khoja Nasruddin said somewhat wearied by his companion's loquacity کی چیز کلوت تو را مگه بس گفت بس چیگه بس ما پیدا نم شما تنشن نگیرین The blessings of Allah be with you They answered خیر بینگرنی اتای sincerely grieved بسیار من تدلش خراب شد که ما کمک نتونستی والله که تو Agabek خود پیدا کنی sincerely grieved at not being able to assist him in his search someone behind Khoja Nasruddin touched him lightly on the shoulder he thought it was Chaykhana keeper and turning was dumbfounded خیال کرد که صاحب چایخانه و چای مای گپ شمیدش کار که دور خلق Before him grinning happily stood the sick man Najor and smile کرده استیم how are you who but an hour before had been on the verge of transition from this funny world to some other baqi world The lowest Khoja Nasruddin was prepared to swear that existed for such arrant knaves as he. He stood grinning. His flat, ugly face, Rui Patirshi, and his round eye shining with a fierce cat-like gleam. Is that you? Oh, my suffering way companion. Way companion چیزه مگه؟ همراه رفيق را أو رفيق را تو أمويتو Okay, yes, it is I. The man answered in a cheerful tone, I want to say that we have no need now to tarry in this chaykhana. Bas, this chaykhana diga bekar inj diga waqt khuzay na ki. But what about the act of healing? Shafaraj karne, ilaj ra. We are waiting for the leech to bilke mu shuluk baya. Everything has been done already. Masla hala. Koi shuluk muluk ki zarurat nahi. The presence of another is but a hindrance to that act. I always heal myself without a leech. Ma khud ilaj bano. Khat time laka rahi. Ceasing not to marvel at this cure, Khoja Nasreddin settled his account with the keeper and went out to his house. Diga behas nakar. The one-eyed, anticipating him, hastened to tighten the saddle girth. Ali Nasreddin narasda qarar rafta bacha zin mein ab tight na barabar na darao magar sir everything is ready for you. He is no stranger to gratitude, thought Khoja Nasreddin. Gufta adami chizani aitar. Chima gamad? Ha?
Begana.
Na bega. Ajnabi ya na masalan yani chizara تشكر مهرباني را مو فاهمه اصلا دي رفتا ضرب زي تزين من برابرنا ده خود فكرنا كما كومك دمنا الضروره ريتيرن وكان احسان مندي نشان ميريا وهي احسان را مو فاهمه خوب بچه Whither now? He asked the one-eyed. Kuja? Happily our ways are the same. اگر یک جای خبری هم سفرشون خوب میشه. I am bound for کوکن. ما خوریم کوکن. تو کجا رهی؟ And so am I, good man. حتی گفت ما منجا رهیم. Thank you. The one-eyed cried eagerly, and without losing a moment, he got onto the saddle. قرار بلزیش. He had construed Khoja Nasreddin's words favorably to himself by meaning that he would continue to ride on the ass while his benefactor would walk. Amutar ki amzujum ki balg da ziyar drakht. Ta shaykhana ramdad me guft alam amu khse diga. Had you not better get astride my own back? Said Khoja Nasreddin. Ami biya karta bale pusht zama sora. Put to shame by the jibe, the one-eyed began to apologize. Okay, sorry. Saying that he had merely desired to test the girl. Ma khali gufta zina gufta check mukadam darao. Say vastash daya na. He is not entirely devoid of shame and conscience. Khoja Nasreddin said to himself, Baz guft, Baz mira master. Sharmaram dara bihayaniya. They proceeded on their way. Along the road, beyond the village, as if running down towards it from the slopes, stretched gardens enclosed in waist-high walls built of stones. Here in the foothills, spring was late. Foothill yani paiko, Daaman ko. Bahar kam der mer sahinji. Retarded as it were by the difficult incline and bends of the road, and the trees were only just beginning to blossom. The narrow, tanged, barik, stony road, Sangira, was deserted. The wheel rut barely visible. Hatta ki ami chize rai paye gadi amumla malum namida. Wagon road ended here, and only a trail of pack animals ran further up the pass. The chowk se kujar mugadi Ladakh, Skardu, Gilgit, Baltistan, northern areas, Mountain, Ketu, Himalaya, Hindu Kush, वगैरह वगैरह. مگه اینال اینی تر پاس درو من یک دنه در مایا درو اینا روڈم تنگ شده رही و این صرف پک انیمال که تا پوش دزو تو سورا کنی گاڑی ماڑی پایا مایا خلاص این سنگیه باید بلیزی تو باید خر بار کنی و پیدل را بری. The wind blowing from the snowy summit. شاخ ایکو یخ برف بزمزون جی باد چلی داره یه بچه هوا یخ. Steadily grew cooler and fresher. The turbid icy ariqs more brimming. و جویا گستم در حتی که برف هم منی خورده و مثل لوڑ قداو هوا هم تندش داره یه درو. And the blue spaces ever wider. The sky was a deep azure. اینر مو بلو میگه میشه. اصل نام ازی ازیور. ازیور بینی فیروزه و بلو یک رنگه. اور ازیور مگه. اما که فول می کلیر نیه که در لندن اویلیبل نیه. اینمی ویو. که هر روز که صبح میشه. This view برایزی ما 10 سال میتر ارمان من که یک روز میتر بلو سکای رو بینیم. ठीक है टाइम बाहर से मुशुद मगर ना नेक्स्ट टाइम अष्ट माह के completely दिखे blue नहीं मिलेगा azure वक्त बेल
खाली आवर
just आवर बारान याख बारिश थर बस तो मूड तोरा में मित्र मनाओ
हाँ देखिए रोज़ अलग करें.
The sky was a deep azure and the air so light and rarefied that Khoja Nasreddin could not fill his lungs deep enough with it. جای نمانداز بس کشونه و تازگیره بخی. The one-eyed too یک چمام breathed with difficulty but did not slacken his pace. منداش دایم لیکن رار برابر رہی. Although Khoja Nasreddin out of pity held in his ass every now and then. باز در هم شمی ما گلاز خار استام کرد نه خوششتا و درو ما یاد روز بلیم زی کوتالم تر رهی دیگه از ونی در بس گلاز و استام که تاو مرسید نه نزدیک مرسید باز است باز خار رهی. You seem in a great hurry. دا جلای معلوم میشه تای مگه. The one-eyed did not answer. He merely glanced back at the road over his shoulder. He may not be a knave at all. آخر خوجا نصرالدین باز ده فکر مورا مگه نه این مر بد آدم معلوم بدماش نی از قواریخ بدماش معلوم میشه ده لغری تایپه مگری خوب آدم معلوم میشه. Trying to forget the yellow cat eye gleam that issued from his companion's single eye. چون که مور عذاب مکرد نه که چیم ازی مثل چیم پشیلی تیز روشنی زرد چطور برو میشه اون مو پریشان کرده دیگه از دیگه حواله او مطمئنه که خوب آدم. Happily, he is hastening home to his family or the help of a friend in distress. اون تو پرسان کرد نه که تو تکلو دا عجله معلوم میشه تون را ماری. پس مگه نه بعد آدم معلوم نمیشه. پس قضو پرسان نه مگه زود دیگو فامیلی رسیدنی یگو اندوال منتظره چی گفت؟ He was not to remain long under the delusion. ایدیگه ارچی که فکر زیه دوام ارچی که وام زده یا رقم فکر منه ایدیگه خلاص شدنی اینالی. From behind them came the distant thud of horses' hooves. درب اسبا واشی ما درو. The one-eyed quickened his pace and kept looking back every minute. Ali khub zud dabalna wa pasam sel na darao. Yekchima. Here they come, he said at last. Oh no, razmar girkat. Let them come. There is road enough for all. Bilbaya na road ziyad jai ter mein tuchiya jala rahe. Khoja Nasreddin answered unconcerned. Muge ilaka khali ek taraf se bil terna. 10 paces further, the one I da qadam pesh raftad ki baad ek chima maga I feel very tired. Let us rest somewhere off the road, behind the rocks. I'm jaga kam rest karni udhar az ra bursni. Wherefore should we turn off the road? کجا از را سرک برشنی شیخ خواجه نصرالدین we can rest just as well here یعنی این سرک چطوره but it is better behind the rocks پسی کو خوبه میتر تسلیه نه سرک یپرا but it is better behind the rocks there is no wind there بادم نمیچله said the one-eyed shivering in an odd manner امت لرزام گرفته کم his yellow eye had become dilated and dark the sound of hoofbeats Aliu asba صدای زنان drew nearer نزدیک شده مایه درو the one-eyed became fidgety restless and at that very moment the horseman swept out from behind a bend in the road in front riding bareback بغیر کدام زین یک دانه ششته with bare dangling feet came the keeper of چایخانه صاحب چایخانه ولی اسب تازه رسیده زین مینم بسته نکده مخص تایم لاو نشده and behind him galloped his guest تمام میمانام مایه درو همی تازه که فارغ شده تسلی بور نشده دیم stop the keeper shouted in a threatening voice Rokshin Distraction stop accursed thieves بگرید دوزاره he dashed ahead all but knocking Khoja Nasreddin over Chapanashira and shooting into his face a stringing spatter of flint chips from under the flying feet of his horse. Then reined in sharply, throwing his mount on his haunches toward the road. The others dashed up. Jumped off their horses and surrounded Khoja Nasreddin and his companion. You, gasped the keeper, choking with rage. Where is my new copper cooking pot of Ura Teba workmanship? Ale Ura Tube ya Tuba? We khas karigari ami kase misi guma. دیگی که منش نام پختنه نه خوب نگم نامش رم میگره my copper خود چیزه رو مگه دیگه میس مگه نه میسی و اورا تیوبه workmanship بلیزو کار کده بچه و یک نامی دیگ بده او کجا مگه your cooking pot دیگ است تو Khoja Nasreddin said perplexed you ought to know better where your things are تو خود تو باید زیاد بهتر خبر باشی که سامانت تو کجایه از موش افرسانی my worthy man why do you rummage in my bags the سامانایز من چیز کار داره has your pot suddenly grown legs to make it jump into my bag by itself پای برکتا دیگه تو کم داده منی چیز از من پوچ شده منی بیگ از من grown legs the چایخانه keeper stuttered his face and neck livid with fury jump into your bag by itself, vile thief. So saying, he took forth from the right saddlebag as Khurjini tarafi ras to Khoja Nasreddin's unspeakable amazement, a brand new shining cooking pot. The one-eyed thief, falling into a violent rage, the keeper gave a jump and smote his chest with his fist. Then this acted as a signal to all the others. The next moment, Khoja Nasreddin and the one-eyed were lying in the roadway under a shower of curses, Daukri, Mushtkri, and kicks and Lagatkri. Once more, Khoja Nasreddin had cause to appreciate the saving qualities of his thick traveling robe. All that talk of his about Agabak was just meant to deceive us. More da qisse Agabak pasao kade ha. Sasir min dega burdani bide. While the other was on thieving. How cleverly he smiled. He simulated illness. The blows and kicks were renewed. At last, the Chaikhana keeper and his friends had taken their full measure of revenge. Intiqam mukammal ho gaya. Mandashta mikhi. Perspiring, araqzda and panting. They quitted the field of battle, leaving Khoja Nasreddin to his ignominy. Qarar reish dun wapas, ina reish ki ek ladal hoye ki chunka. Once more, there was a clatter of hoofs upon the stone, which died away in the distance. Sadai Bhai Aspa, Astiste Kumshudara. Khoja Nasreddin picked himself up. His first words were addressed to his ass. Now I understand why you turned off the high road this morning. Oh, misbegotten son of your father's profligacy. You thought my robe was too dusty? But remember this. Should anyone anywhere begin to dust my robe for me a third time without previously taking it off me, my shoulders, then woe betide thee. O long-eared receptacle of order, O Badbui, if need be, I shall ride a distance of 100 arrow flights until I find somewhere a flaying house with rusted, blood-stained hooks, with curved, jagged knives, made from sickles and with long elm wood sticks upon which asses' hide are stretched. Remember, Dayat Basha, Yurkuma tag midum, lekin seim na dafa, agar kas e code as mara tag that. Kiu tabal balshanem bud. Bazi pora mastu migrum bashak post mawazna. Har kas tag dini bigra asane murbura tag bida, hak bachar pas. Jam tag bidu. Remember, Dayat Basha. The ass blinked his wittish eyelashes with a meek, innocent look, as if all those dire threats were not meant for him at all. The one-eyed lay prostrate and did not stir. Khoja Nasreddin shook him by the shoulder. The one-eyed raised his head fearfully. Have they gone? He asked. I thought they were resting. He shook the dust from his robe and added, it was a good thing that they were all barefoot. I do not see what good you find in that, Yanishi. When a man is barefoot, he kicks you with his heel. One-eyed. When a man is barefoot, he kicks you with his heel, explained the one-eyed. And a heel kick is incomparably weaker than a toe kick.
خوب خورده تجربه داره.
مگر اگر بس کسی که بوتای پشته باشه بس توی خمیزده او بعد اوگرده نمیله دادم. You ought to know. خوب خبری هن. Most deplorable for the ribs are کانی بادام boots. از تمام خطرناکی قبرغر اوگرنا کانی بادام بود.
خاصیت بوتار لا خبر نداری کستم.
Proceeded the one-eyed. The craftsmen there ustahay او منطقه کستنه for the sake of elegance از خاطر یمو چمک یزو put hard sole leather in the shoes. Thus one man's elegance is another man's woe. یک کس کمال من یک نفر باز قبرغیش رم میدن. I have never tried کانی بادام boots upon my ribs. ما بلی قبرغیش خیلی کانی بادام try نکدم و نمیخوایم try کنم. And I have no intention of doing so, okay? Said Khoja Nasreddin. It were better, my dear man, if we parted company here and now and forever. بهتری امزیه که موستو رای خور بگیرد. ما رمزی بوتایم تیر، امزی چی رقم لغت میزنه، امزی نام تیر تو مفاهمی قد بوتای و لغت کری خوب برو رای خور بگیر، ما رای خور میگیرم. He mounted his ass and gave him a light flick between the ears, the بین گوشایش میترک, and the usual sign to start off. فقط بگی که تو موتورسیکل start. The one-eyed suddenly burst into tears and fell upon his knee, battering the way. He cried piteously. No one, not a man in all the world knows and the truth about me. I beseech you, please, Raham, be merciful, hear me out. And then a great deal will appear to you in a different light. His agitation was unaffected, his tears genuine. A deep tremor shook his frame. Yes. No, I'm a thief, he said, choking with tears and beating his breast. I am a vile felon, Mike Badmarsham. I know it, but believe me, stranger or ajnabi, no one suffers as much from my felony as I do myself. Ma azi pishaymani koi qadar ke da azab mein hich khas nahi hai. Raham ko dejana. And there is not a soul upon this earth who would try to understand me. Bekas? All this was so unexpected. This drama ek dafagi shud that Khoja Nasreddin was bewildered. He was partly through curiosity, kam tajassus bud, partly through compassion. Kam tajassus am mandad digirshi, kam raham am dijay dilch jaykat, dilch purshut. He contented to hear the thief's story. Kho, ina ali dezi shart ki tu bas qisih kane. Gufchash. Qad yakchim. وينجي conclusion chapter 6.